class, so I'm gonna miss you. But I wanted to be here with you anyway, so I'm taping it. But not as much fun because obviously you're not here in the classroom to interact with me, and I get just as much energy from you guys as well. So, but anyway, we were to cover chapter 3 and then the pages on 180 to 205. So we're going to go over that today. I have a volunteer facilitator, so she's, I'm sure, going to do an awesome job. I thought this would be great too because it's an opportunity to have you look at our website and how to access these videotapes so you can tell your friends about it. And then they can access it and they can get copies of these handouts from the front desk for whatever week they need. And then, you know, follow along with us on the weeks that they miss, or those that maybe want to order the book and do this from home can be successful that way as well. So, just know that I'm with you even though I'm not with you. Give yourself an applause, especially if it's a beautiful day next Tuesday, because, you know, you're here. And even if you're not where you want to be, and the book talks a lot about getting started and, you know, when mistakes happen, getting back on track, just, you know, just get back up and get moving. It's okay. Remember that weight loss success follows a bumpy, uneven path. So I can't stress enough, just be patient with yourself. It's not a perfect journey. Remember that obstacles prevent you from achieving your goals, but you can lose weight. People do it all the time, and you can too. Just believe in yourself. Identify your roadblocks. Know what gets in your way. Why don't you spend a minute now and share with each other some of the roadblocks that you encountered this week and how you overcame them. You can go ahead and turn off the tape for just a couple minutes. All right, so you've shared a little bit about your roadblocks, and you've talked about how you're going to confront your personal temptations. And then what are your strategies? You know, okay, so you had a roadblock, you had a plan. Did it work or didn't work? And what would you do different next time? Just spend a couple minutes, and maybe a few of you can share with each other about, you know, how you overcame that obstacle and what you did or would do differently. Remember, we learn from each other, so if those of you could share a little bit, we always appreciate that. Take time to review and talk about the common barriers and practical strategies contained on page 181 to 205 in your book. There's 3 topics: nutrition, physical activity, and behaviors. Review each one and discuss what are the barriers and strategies that you can think of to overcome them, and maybe share that with the group. So take a couple of minutes, turn off the camera, and go through those bullets. And I've actually listed them on your handout under nutrition, some of the excuses that people have or barriers, and then talk about each one of those or pick out your favorites and then just provide some feedback. Go ahead and turn off the camera. All right. A little bit of housekeeping. We talked about getting together in front of Appleton Area Health Service. And if you're in Local Apparel Network and you're viewing this from another facility, maybe just find a place where people can meet at a certain time. Anybody that wants to walk or stroll on a nice day, or if it's raining. Some people don't mind walking in the rain. Just decide on a time and a place to meet and walk. Here at Appleton Area Health, the suggestions are 8 a.m., 5 p.m., and 7 p.m. So I think we'll leave all those times open. Just know that if you want to walk, meet there. Whoever shows up will walk. If you're the only one, maybe, you know, try it for a couple of days. If you're still the only one, maybe come to one of the other times. Eventually, we'll find either 1 or 2 times where people will consistently meet and you'll develop your own walking group. When the winter time comes, we'll talk about the 52 wing and how we might set up some times there so that we can continue these weight loss efforts and exercise through the winter months. I want to emphasize that I don't want anyone to feel intimidated or feel like they can't walk far enough because they haven't walked before. You know, we don't have to power walk. We're just moving, remember? So socializing, moving, just getting together, and doesn't have to be a fast walk. So if you don't walk very well, I'm sure that other members of the group will accommodate you. It's just all about getting together, spending some time, and if you get tired and you have to quit, the group can catch up with you again. You can make arrangements for them to maybe walk around the block and pick you up at the corner. Or so I just want to encourage all of you to just make that step to increase your exercise this week. I put the web address thanks to the couple that shared last week about their weight loss efforts. They shared a website that you could input some of the foods that you're eating and your activities, and it would keep track, and it's free. So on your handout is the myfitnesspal.com. I did test it out, and it is a website that's easy to access. You sign up at the website, but it's free, so I would encourage you to do that as well. Also remember to bring your healthy recipes. We can start putting those into the computer under our weight loss tab, which will be built after this video is done. You'll get to see this by the time class starts. You'll know where that tab is and how to access the recipes. I'm hoping that my handouts will get on the website as well, so people can just view them and maybe have them open on their computer when they're viewing the DVD. Weigh-ins, just a reminder, are 5:30 to 5:59. By this time you've already weighed in, and congratulations if you lost weight, and if you haven't gained weight, that's an applause too. Because remember, pounds not gained is a plus. Now let's look at some of the things that are messages we say about different topics. So for nutrition, and you'll find these on page 181, you don't have to go to your books if you don't want to, but I've included the bullets here. But one of the things we say is, I don't have time to make healthy meals. You'll find on page 181 and 182 some of the strategies that are suggested to overcome this particular barrier. And likewise, for the ones that I'm going to be talking about here, you're going to find additional strategies. And I can imagine, with all the intelligence in this room and experience that we have trying to lose weight, that we'll come up with our own strategies. So I'll go through and talk about each of these individually, not in depth, just introducing the topic. And then after I'm done with each section, I would encourage you to turn off the tape and talk about what strategies you came up with to overcome which barrier seems to apply to you. So if you don't have time to make healthy meals is your barrier, maybe talk about that one as something that is a challenge for you, and then how you're overcoming it, or how maybe you plan to overcome it. And then maybe the following week come back and say, I tried that, it didn't work, and this is what I did instead. So again, we learn from each other, so bring those ideas to class. I love hearing from all of you, because your ideas help me succeed as well. Did I say I missed you guys? Oh, okay, I missed you guys. The next excuse is, I don't have time to cook. I don't like vegetables and fruits. I hear that a lot. They don't like this vegetable or that vegetable. Find things you like. Remember, it's like exercising. If you don't find something you like, you're not going to be successful. Healthy foods such as fresh produce and fish are expensive. Well, if you're like me and you're really blessed, you have good friends that fish, and they bring you fish, and all you have to do is bake for them. So I won't mention any names, but I have to say I'm truly blessed to have good friends that bring me fruits and vegetables and things that I like. So those people know who they are. Thank you. My family doesn't like to try new foods, and it's too much work to make different meals. Another common problem in households. If it's just you and your husband, or you and your roommate, that's probably not as much of a problem. I cannot resist certain foods such as chocolate and candy. We've talked a little bit about this, and the book has some more suggestions. I travel a lot and often have to eat at airports, hotels, and events. Well, some of us might wish we had that problem, but for many of us, we don't. Since I'm not hungry in the morning, I often skip breakfast. I've been honest with you, this is my problem. My way of overcoming it is making those shakes in the morning with fruit. Again, I had one this morning, and it just tasted like a DQ shake. I almost feel like I'm cheating, but that's okay. I'm not good at menu planning. I never had the right ingredients around the house to make a healthy meal. Go ahead and turn off the tape now and talk about which one of these seems to fit and what strategies you have used to overcome these, or ideas you have to maybe help others who are bringing up this topic in the class today overcome their barriers. Because again, more ideas really help us out. Let's go to physical activity. I don't have time to exercise. Scheduling in exercise like we schedule in our breakfast, lunch, and dinner is possible. So think about how you might schedule in your exercise. And have small goals. Remember, if your goals are too big, you're not going to succeed. I started off with 5 minutes on the elliptical. And like our guests last week showed us, they mentioned that they are walking 5 miles a day, but they didn't just get there. So scheduling it in, being part of a routine, and something that's not discouraging, like 5 minutes on an elliptical for me was hard at first to schedule in, but I get it done because I think, oh, it's only 5 minutes. And then once my endurance builds up, then I go to 10 minutes. And now I'm up to 15, and it's not so bad. I mean, at 15 I'm still struggling, but it's easier than it was before when I had 5 minutes. I'm too tired to exercise. I would encourage you to think about the afterwards like we talked about last week. Not to think about I'm tired now, but how good you're going to feel after you exercise. We get that second wind. And if we're tired and we have all that stuff in our bucket list to do, or chore list, or the honey-do list, whichever list you're given, it gives us more energy to do those things when we exercise. So keep that in your focus. Focus on how well you're going to feel when you're thinner and your muscles are stronger and you've had a chance to exercise. I don't like to exercise. There's some people that like to exercise. I'm not one of them. But I also try to focus on the afterward. I try to say, I'm going to feel so much better. It's not going to be as hard to get off the floor when I see a patient. And just kind of think of those positive messages about why exercise is going to help me. I'm too old to exercise. I might hurt myself. This is something I see a lot in my patient population. They've got the sore knee or the this or the that, and afraid they're going to hurt themselves. Well, we could have a physical therapy evaluation. If you've got an x-ray of the knee, we certainly can look at whether or not you'd hurt yourself. But oftentimes, strengthening the muscles around a part of our body that is weak or hurting oftentimes helps the pain. And of course, losing the weight is less pounds per square inch of weight on a part that hurts. So, there are some low-impact exercises that are quite effective. I don't like to exercise when it's cold, rainy, or hot. Well, there's other activities. Remember, it's not just exercise, it's just moving. So, walk in a mall if you go to Wilmer, or if you have a house, you can walk inside, do some extra laps. Do what they talked about. Deanna talked about last week, and I don't think she would mind my mentioning her name, but she goes extra trips, when she gets the laundry. I mean, just little ideas about how to make extra trips or get a little more activity within the house, or putting the air conditioner on, or going somewhere where there's air conditioning. And walking is good. There are gyms, of course, that are air conditioned. So there's always a way. When there's a will, there's a way. We've always heard that saying. I truly believe that if we want to, we can make it happen. I worry that other people think I look funny when I exercise. I think my comment about being in a bathing suit last week, I'm afraid to go to the pool because I know I don't look very good in a bathing suit. But like some of the others have mentioned, we're all in the same boat. We all look the same. So we kind of have to overcome how we look, because we know that the afterward, again, is going to be awesome. I travel a lot, so exercise is inconvenient. Boy, didn't you wish you had this trouble? I can't exercise because of painful arthritis in my joints. Again, exercise is actually good. It strengthens the muscles around those areas like I've talked about earlier. If you have concerns, certainly you can talk to your provider about that. But exercise generally is recommended for overall health. And I think sometimes and I have this problem myself, we can use osteoarthritis or painful joints as an excuse to not exercise. So just move slowly, low impact stuff, and you'll still get your daily exercise in. Exercise makes me hungry. There comes a point in exercise where you actually start breaking down fat, and when you break down fat, you start feeling full. So you may feel hungry initially. Sometimes that hunger though is because you're a little dehydrated. So try drinking some extra water. And if you're not a water drinker like me, try some Crystal Light in your water. Or take a little bit of cranberry juice or whatever your favorite juice is and flavor the water in a water bottle and just enjoy it. Dehydration does trigger hunger because it wants you to take in something to replenish your fluid stores. So maybe think of that as an idea. They also talk about in the studies and research that's out there on the web that if you drink some fluids before you eat, you feel fuller sooner. So not only the strategies of eating your vegetables and your fruit before your meat and maybe dessert if you've allowed yourself a dessert, is to drink water. Go ahead and turn off the tape now and talk about these particular barriers and how you might have overcome some of these through strategies that you have found effective or what you think might be effective. And then if you have additional barriers you want to share, go ahead and turn off the tape now. All right, now we're going to talk about behaviors. I have trouble controlling how much I eat. Well, we've talked about having a smaller plate, and in the book it does have some strategies to help you with that. Sometimes asking yourself, am I full? One of the members talked about chewing their food slower. You get fuller if you give yourself a chance to realize that you're full. It takes time for your stomach to communicate with your brain and say, hey, I've had enough. And oftentimes, and this is true for me, I ignore that. I don't even pay attention to it anymore. I just eat until I'm so stuffed. I'm walking around feeling like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have eaten all that. So it's important to, as you eat, ask yourself, am I still hungry? Because I think you'll find, remember when I talked about that Yopa last week, with that little granola bar, and I thought, oh, that's a small little taste. That actually fills me up. Surprisingly enough, it's all my body needs for a snack. And before, I probably could have eaten 4 or 5 of them. Oh, I do have to confess, I went out for pizza with friends. We went to the musical concert last week, beautiful night, and they ordered 2 whole pizzas. So the bad news is I had a little square pizza, but the good news is that little square pizza lasted me all night. I kind of nursed it through the night. So I still felt like I was part of the group, enjoying pizza, but didn't eat, probably half the pizza, which I could have done before. So again, kudos for change of behavior, but probably could have just said no and just had something to drink. But again, you just have to kind of negotiate and work things in. I've tried to lose weight before, but it didn't work. Now I don't have confidence that it'll work this time. What you're doing different this time is you have us. We're in a group. We're talking about it. We're learning. We're supporting each other as we have behavioral change. And behavioral change will become part of your normal routine, so it'll be easier to manage on your own later on. So, give yourself credit for, I've got people walking in here and I'm taping. So anyway, give yourself credit for doing it different this time and coming in here and working with each other and getting feedback. I eat when I'm stressed, depressed, or bored. Oh, can I relate to this one? Remember my donut story? Yeah, that was when I was, just some things going on, and it was morning, and I just came into work, and that donut was there, and I thought, gosh, you know what? I'm just going to eat it. I mean, how often we do that without even thinking? We'll talk about that thinking part in a minute. I've had a hard time not eating when I'm watching TV, a moving, or a live sporting event. Well, I could say just avoid the TV, but for some of us that's relaxing and we need something to unwind at the end of the day. When I go to parties, I can't resist all the snacks. Well, kind of like what I did. Have a small something, or like our guest shared last week, find one of those little quarter cup things with a lid, kind of be thinking about that and say, this is what I can kind of have a little bit of throughout the night, and just spread it out. So, you're kind of socializing, enjoying some of it. I'm a late night snacker. Someone shared that last week too. Yeah. How many of us are late night snackers? Well, one of my break-its was not to eat after 7 p.m. And it's hard because you kind of get hungry and in a routine where you kind of sit there and you're kind of bored and you got all these things that are barriers that are stacking up on you. You're bored, you're watching TV, all things you're not supposed to do. And then, you want a snack. So this may be a tough one. You guys might want to spend a couple minutes when you turn off the tape again, talk about how you're going to overcome this barrier. And for some, maybe it's not an issue. For me, I drink tea, warm liquids, so I could be sipping on something and feeling full because I've got something warm in my stomach, and it's relaxing. When I lapse from my eating plan, it's hard to get back on track. And this is important. Forgive yourself. We've talked about this. Any program you've been on, and some of you, we talked about AA, and we talked about Weight Watchers and other successful programs. They always tell you that it works when you work it. That's kind of a slogan they use in AA. And I know a lot about AA because I wanted to understand what my patients were going through, so I actually went to some meetings and was invited to learn about some of the principles of how people overcome the addiction of alcohol. And really, if we love food and we think about it all the time, for some of us we have food addictions. So we have to kind of treat it the same way and take it seriously and say to ourselves, you know what, okay, I messed up, and just kind of move on. Just forgive yourself and just start getting back on track. I get frustrated when I lose just a pound or two after I've tried really hard all week. Oh my gosh, it is discouraging. Or if you don't lose weight at all. I mean, if I lost a pound or two, I'd say, yay! You're supposed to lose a pound or two. You don't want to lose it too fast because you don't keep it off, or it could be unhealthy. Someone talked about fasting too much last week, and it's true. I mean, anything to extremes is not healthy. But if you don't gain weight or you lose a pound or two, it's great. And I hope I said that right. If you stay the same or lose a pound or two, that's great. If you gain a pound, sometimes that can be water weight. I mean, up to 3 or 4 pounds can be water weight. So don't get discouraged. Maybe you drank more water because you were thirsty, and you just kind of drank more liquids. Maybe you're exercising, you're gaining muscle weight. Or we talked about muscle weight, that's good weight because it burns more calories. So, think about all the afterwards. I keep wanting to say that. I guess that's my slogan from now on. But think about the afterwards. It's the, positive thinking and not that stinking thinking. Think about, well, maybe I drank more water, or something that's reversible. It isn't permanent. You haven't screwed up so bad. It'll come off again. Remember, a lost pound is much better than a pound gained, and it all adds up little by little. Think about pennies or change. If you were to start putting change in a container, and maybe some of you have done this, pretty quickly, that amount could be a vacation fund. It adds up. So remember, a pound or two adds up, and that's good stuff. And it's usually poundage you've earned, and you've changed some behaviors to get there, and those are the behaviors going to help you to succeed. I don't like my body image. Well, that sounds like a motivational thing to me. If I don't like my body image, that certainly is going to motivate me to want to do better. All right. You can turn off the camera, talk about anything that you think that you need to wrap up on this section, and then we're going to talk about chapter 3. All right, chapter 3. Have confidence in yourself. This is really important. If you believe in yourself and feel that you and what you're trying to achieve is worth it, you will succeed. Again, keeping in the forefront those reasons that motivate you that we talked about last week. What motivates you to continue your weight loss effort? Is it the father's wedding in 2 years that you want to get down into that special dress? Is it wanting to look good in a bathing suit? Just feel good. Maybe you just be a little lighter on your feet so you can get off the floor without hurting. Whatever it is, just always keep in mind what it is that you want. Because there's usually something that will motivate you. Your grandkids wanting to live versus get sick and possibly die from complications of health problems that can be oftentimes delayed or prevented through healthy eating and exercise. Anticipate urges and temptation and plan strategies, as we've discussed above. Having the urge or temptation is okay, but remember, giving into it, unless you make the choice and you're working it into your diet, that part's not okay. Remember my example of eating during a stressful time? That was eating that donut? That wasn't okay, because that was impulsive. That wasn't, I think I'm going to work this in my diet. I've done really good this week, and I can have a small treat, and I'm going to have, maybe half the donut. No, it was grab the whole donut and eat it while you're doing something else. You're not even really getting to enjoy it. So make conscientious choices. Someone else talked about maybe having cake without frosting. Now that's a conscientious decision. That was awesome. You know, the person knew they were eating the cake, you know, they didn't impulsively, because if they impulsively did it, they wouldn't have even thought about taking off the frosting. And I have to say that's hard for me because I love that. Not a lot of frosting, but again, that white cake, real frosting, lemon. Am I making you hungry? Oh. I'm sorry. When you get the urge, tell yourself that the urge will only last a few minutes. Remember we talked about all those people getting stuffed when you go to these gatherings and they're eating all these sweets, and you know that urge is going to be gone. And remember how awful, maybe think of the afterward. Think if you would have eaten all that stuff, how would you have felt? Because I don't know about you, but there's times I get out of eating like that and I just feel sugar sick. And I wish I wouldn't have eaten it. And then I ask myself, why did I eat that? Well, you don't have to be that person. In a few minutes, those people that you're around aren't going to be eating it anymore. And you're going to still be feeling good and proud of yourself for maybe not having it, or maybe having a small of something that you've allowed to linger for the many hours of your social experience. So just think about all that afterward stuff. And be proud of yourself for not giving in. That's really important. It's just all that positive thinking and really giving yourself those internal kudos for things that you do and decisions that you make that are making your life healthier. Because you know that those aren't small decisions, those are huge. For those of us who have been on weight loss diets and struggled with what we eat, and for some of us like me that just look at food and I feel like I gain weight, it's a big deal. So really take the time to say, gosh, I really did good. The other thing is distraction. If you feel an urge to eat, if you feel like you're gonna start caving, go read a book, call a friend, call someone in this class that you know and say, you know what, I'm having one of my moments and I just want to eat something. And maybe they'll say, have some water, have a glass of tea, let's go for a walk. Just do something that's distracting to get your mind off of it. Because we have focused so much on food in our lives, we haven't focused on life. So moving away from that thinking may help us not think about food so much, not be so hungry, think about that white cake with lemon frosting and real frosting. So, get our mind off of stuff like that. Focus on the positives of your getting to the healthier you. Focus not on what you cannot eat, but instead things that you can. Avoid stinking thinking. Don't think the bad stuff. Always think of the positive, because that's what's going to keep us going. So you can say, I can't have all those sweets, but you can say, gosh, look at all that fresh asparagus out there. I love asparagus. And whatever other types of vegetables or fruits that you like. I love blueberries, especially in my DQ shakes in the morning. I love that those are available and they're fresh this time of the year. Number 5 on your must be the third page, a little bit longer outline today. Focus on the positives, problem 5 is page 34, starts with suggestions for healthier living, and it talks about breaking the habits. Remember, you're adopting 5 habits, you're gaining 5 additional bonus habits, and you're breaking habits. So it talks about no TV while eating. And some of you shared that those would be some of your breaking habits last week when we shared about things that you'd come up with. No sugar, only what's naturally found in fruit. No snacks except fruits and vegetables. I'm here to tell you that when I was typing this outline this morning, I was eating carrots. Wasn't the best snack maybe, but it just gave me something to gnaw on because I was kind of getting bored. Although I enjoy writing these outlines, but it's just you're typing away and want to gnaw on something, so I was gnawing on carrots. Moderate meat and low-fat dairy, the size of a deck of cards, and low-fat dairy. So deck of cards is not a big piece of meat. But remember, in other countries, vegetables and fruit, and maybe rices and other kinds of condiments are something that is the main portion of their meal. The meats are really a very small portion. No eating at restaurants unless the meal fits the program. Again, I went out with friends. Wouldn't have fit into my program to sit and have a whole meal of pizza, but one small square and took off the pepperoni off of it, so I just really had the cheese and had a little bit of sausage and just the vegetables on it. Crust, of course, but that was my meal, that was my dinner. So, actually that wasn't too bad, I didn't think, as far as a meal goes. So, why don't you close down the camera for a couple minutes, kind of wrap up, and then I'll talk about the reading assignment for next week. I'm sorry again I couldn't be here. It's just not the same without you. It's hard to find the enthusiasm, but I still am thinking about all of you as I'm doing this, so I hope it has the same amount of energy that we have when we meet, but I will look forward to seeing you next week. For some of you, you won't be here because it's kind of coming up on the 4th of July weekend. I do understand, but I enjoy when you're here because it's better than talking to an empty room. So I want to thank you for coming to the meetings, applaud you for your efforts, be patient with yourself, and just tell yourself you're doing a great job, because you are. You're here. And if you're not here, you're watching the tape online. Reading for next week. We'll review from last week's discussions. You guys can share with me what you talked about, the little summary. Chapter 4, we're going to talk about bonus habits, and Chapter 5, what have I learned? So then we'll kind of wrap up on kind of everything we've had up until this point. And then we will have completed 5 chapters plus those bonus pages on 180 to 205. So that'll be great. Again, remember your walking schedule. Remember bringing in recipes. We'll talk about label reading another time. I know it's on my list, but since I couldn't be here, I didn't want to present labels on a video without you being here. If you want to bring in some labels of foods that you eat, that would be helpful for me. We can talk. You can have labels in front of you then. Share with your neighbor who maybe won't bring one, and we'll talk about the different food groups on those labels, and we'll talk about reading them. And you know about weigh-in, reading assignment, and then bring any questions you have. And best of all, just bring yourself. I appreciate you. Talk to you later. I'll be driving home from Moose Lake. All right, bye.